Okay, so exclusivism would be on the other side of this spectrum. Um, oh, wait a minute. Relativism. I forgot this one. Okay. What is relativism? This is the idea that there's no absolute truth, that all religions are true, in quotes, for their adherents, but when you get right down to it, there's no way to know what's true. Um, so that's a little bit different from pluralism. It sounds really similar, but the difference with pluralism is pluralism says, yeah, there is something out there. Um, there is a truth, an absolute truth. It's just that it's known by many names. That would be pluralism. Relativism would say, oh, no, 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 there's nothing, we don't know, we'll never know. So you know what? If Buddhism works for you, fine. If Hinduism works for you, fine. If Christianity works for you, fine. If it's true for you, then it's true for you, but that doesn't make it true for me. That would be relativism. Again, it sounds a lot like pluralism, but it's slightly different. Okay, exclusivism. And this would be on the other side of the spectrum from pluralism. And so this would be the idea that only one religion is true. Uh, Jesus Christ is the only way to God. Judaism, the way to worship God by practicing the Jewish faith, that's it. That's the only religion that's true. Islam, everyone else who's not a Muslim is not in the will of the one true God, Allah. So exclusivism would say only one religion is true. One way only. Um, a philosopher who has been a champion of this position is Alvin Plantinga. Now, many people would say exclusivism is bigoted. It is you basically saying it's right because I think it's right, and other people are wrong because they're different from me. Many would say that exclusivism is narrow-minded. Alvin Plantinga, a very highly regarded philosopher, and he specializes in what's called epistemology. And epistemology is that branch of philosophy which studies how we know things. It's the study of knowledge itself. How do we know anything? How do we know what's true? He has made a philosophical case for exclusivism, and he argues that it is not bigoted, it is not narrow-minded, it is not irrational. So I invite you to watch the video or read the article. Actually, what I'm going to say to you is please watch the video. Watch the video. And then if you would like more information, read the article. But I'm going to test you on the video, so be sure you watch the video. All right, now, what's halfway between pluralism and exclusivism? That would be inclusivism. This would be the idea that one religion is true, but the others are partly true. And there's different types of inclusivism, okay? There's an inclusivism that's almost all the way over to the left with pluralism. I mean, this would be kind of like, for example, a Christian might say Jesus is the one true God, but he has revealed himself in different ways. But when people finally stand before him in the end, they will know that Jesus is the one true God. And then there's an exclusivism that's kind of over towards exclusivism, which might say, again, I'm going to use an example of a Christian. Jesus is the one true God, but there might be some people who practice other religions who still get saved, but, for most people, no. Do you get what I'm saying here? I mean, inclusivism can kind of go in different places on this spectrum. There's inclusivism with regards to knowledge. So some might say there's one true God or one right way, but other religions and other thought processes and other systems of thought might still have some knowledge. And then others would say, well, there's one right way, but some of the practices that show up in other religions are good and helpful. This would certainly be the case. We talked about this back with Buddhism. You know, there are Christians who practice Buddhist meditation. There are who would affirm the Four Noble Truths and who would practice things that are on the Eightfold Path of Buddhism. The practices, are good, but still, somebody, an inclusivist, would say, even though practices from different religions can be helpful, there's still, just one that's really got, kind of the real truth. There's inclusivism with regards to salvation. Salvation, in this sense, meaning who gets saved, who gets to go to heaven when they die, and so, or who gets, reincarnated into a better life, if that's your particular religion. And so some might say, well, my religion is the truth, but even people who don't practice my religion can still somehow be saved. So there's a lot of different kinds of inclusivisms. It can mean different things. In the end, again, speaking in generalization, it's basically one of these three. It's pluralism, all religions are true, or it's exclusivism, only one religion is true, and only the people who follow that religion are going to reach salvation or nirvana or moksha or whatever. And then there's inclusivism, which is kind of a medium point somewhere within this spectrum. And that inclusivism might be closer to pluralism or it might be closer to exclusivism. So inclusivism is basically the idea one religion's true, others are partly true. Now let me give you an example of inclusivism. You may have read or seen the movie The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. This is from a series of fantasy novels written by C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis was a Christian scholar and author who lived in the 20th century. And if you're familiar at all with Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, if you've seen the movie or read the book or had the book read to you when you were a child, you know probably that Aslan, the lion, represents Jesus or God. And so Aslan is the true object of worship in the Narnia books, in the Chronicles of Narnia. Now, in The Last Battle, which is the last book of this series, C.S. Lewis wrote a very interesting scene. In the Chronicles of Narnia, there is a false god by the name of Tash. Now, Tash is not a 100%, he's not great, okay? His followers do some things that aren't so great. There is a character by the name of Emeth, who in the end meets up with Aslan. Now, this is at the end of time. This is as the world is coming to an end. People are being kind of sorted out, and some are going to live forever with Aslan in his country, which that would be kind of a representation of the idea of the Christian heaven. Some are not going to live with Aslan in his country. They're going to go somewhere else. And so Emeth meets up with Aslan. And here's what C.S. Lewis writes about that. Emeth is telling some other characters later what happened. He says, "Then I fell at his feet and thought, surely this is the hour of death, for the lion who is worthy of all honor," in other words, the lion is the one true God in this account, "for surely the lion who is worthy of all honor will know that I have served Tash." Tash is the other God. "Will know that I've served Tash all my days and not him. But the glorious one bent down his golden head and touched my forehead with his tongue and said, 'Son, thou art welcome. But I said, Alas, Lord, I am no son of thine, but the servant of Tash. Now, again, in the Chronicles of Narnia, Tash is a real being. Tash is not just another manifestation of Aslan. Um, Tash is, I don't know, a demon or something, or spirit, some kind of real being. Anyway, he says, But I said, Alas, Lord, I am no son of thine, but the servant of Tash. And he answered, Child, all the servant thou hast done to Tash, I account as service done to me. Then I questioned the glorious one and said, Lord, is it then true that thou and Tash are one? Now, see, that would be pluralism. See, Aslan and Tash are just different manifestations of the same thing. That's pluralism. And that's what Emeth asks. Is it true that thou and Tash are one? Well, Aslan doesn't like that idea. It says, The lion growled so that the earth shook and said, It is false. Yet, Emeth says, I have been seeking Tash all my days. Beloved, said the glorious one, unless thy desire had been for me, thou wouldst not have sought so long and so truly. For all find what they truly seek. Now, the idea there, again, Aslan is the one true God. There is not another. But in C.S. Lewis's story, in his mind, in his story, Aslan can accept people who worshipped a false god if their devotion was true and good and in the end a loving thing. Is this making sense? If not, shoot me an email. One of the proponents of inclusivism is a Catholic theologian by the name of Karl Rahner. He talked about what was called the anonymous Christian. He said that he believed, even though he was Catholic, and you know, Catholic is a relatively exclusivistic position if you're true to Catholic theology. I'm not saying all Catholics are exclusivist, but you know, that's kind of the theology if you're serious about it. And yet he said, okay, even though the Catholic Church and the Christian religion are the one true thing, there are people who belong to other religions, but their practice of that religion is so close to what God desires from people that they're Christians even though they don't know it. And so this is kind of the spectrum of the theories of religious diversity. I invite you to reflect on this, again, for two reasons. One being because this is a philosophy class and this is a philosophical question. But the second reason is for you to think about what you believe and to think about how you are going to respond to the different truth claims and religious beliefs and different traditions that are being presented in this class.